the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Daf It Gittin, Daf It. We'll be finishing the second parak. Pretty exciting. Let's start in the third parak. We're going to talk today a little bit about this unique case of a woman bringing her get from Dinas Hayam, how exactly that works. Ian Ben Seal will discuss it a little further. According to the Maskana of the Gemara, could a woman be a shliach to bring her get out of a man? Yesterday, Ian Ben Seal discussed it really shouldn't work. The Gemara seems to imply at the end of today's Gemara that it would work. We'll have to try to resolve that in Ian Ben Seal. We'll start the third paragraph, which talks about the Shema, the mitzvah of writing the Shema, and also about Breira. We'll get into it in the next couple of dapim. The Gemara on the bottom, Chav Gimel Beis, about 6 lines up. Tanya Kavaseh da Abaye. Bryce supports Abaye. When I focused yesterday on Rav Yosef and Abaye. Rav Yosef and Abaye, there's one case where the 5 women who are usually hostile towards a woman, her mother-in-law, sister-in-law, co-wife, etc., they're not believed when it comes to if the woman's husband died, because they're trying to ruin it for her. They hate her. But they are believed to bring a get, at least according to the Mishnah. According to the Brisa, not. It's how you resolve the Brisa and the Mishnah. So Rav Yosef and Abaye said exactly the opposite thing. Rav Yosef said that she is believed, that these women are believed when it's brought from Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, it's believed, according to Rav Yosef. And from Chuzar is not believed. And Abaye said exactly the opposite. So in other words, Brisa supports Abaye. A woman herself can bring her get from the Hayam from Gal V'chomer. The 5 women that we mentioned in the Mishnah, they're hostile towards this woman, they hate her, so they're not believed to testify that her husband died. They are believed to bring her get. She that is trustworthy to say that her husband died. A woman is trustworthy to say her husband died. Certainly she should believe, like the Mishnah clearly says, to bring her own get and to say and the Brisa continues, so you see clearly, just like these women have to, these 5 women have to say which clearly shows that it's talking coming from Chutz La'aretz, like Abaye. So too, and the woman herself has to say Amar Rav Ashi. Our Mishnah also seems to be a support to Abaye's position. The Ksani Ya Isha Atzma Via Gita. The woman herself can bring her get. Right? The case of the woman, which talked after the case of the 5 other women that hate her, she has to say So conclude that the previous case about the 5 other women that are Nemanos are talking about also a case where they come from Chutz La'aretz and they have to say But in Eretz Yisrael they wouldn't be believed. Rav Yosef is the opposite. Reisha v'seva b'Chutz La'aretz mitziyasa b'Aretz. So the beginning, the Reisha is not from our Mishnah, it's from the previous Mishnah. The previous Mishnah was clearly a case where he came from Chutz La'aretz. In the Seifa of our Mishnah, the last case of our Mishnah, even Rav Yosef is talking about Chutz La'aretz, right? A woman who brings her get from her husband has to say But the Mitzias, the middle case for these 5 hostile women, that's talking about bringing Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't make sense. Why would it wouldn't be it wouldn't be symmetrical? The Reish and the Seiv talking about Chutz La'aretz, and the middle case not Chutz La'aretz. Mitzias of Aretz. So he says in Reisha the Seiv of Chutz La'aretz, Mitzias of Aretz. So like you said, what's proof for me? Midigsani ma ben get lemisa. The Mishnah ends off what's the thing I get and reporting the husband dies. The get is written document. It didn't say that the ksav of the get, and also the support of they're saying so you see the case of the 5 women where they don't say so that's the answer for Rav Yosef. The Mishnah included a woman herself could bring her get from Dinas Hayam and say in Chutz La'aretz when she took the get in her hand, she was already Megoresha. So what do you have to go to a basin in Eretz Yisrael to say Amar Rav Huna ba'omer lo garshi bo'el b'fnei basin. He gets to her in Chutz La'aretz, so he says, I'm making a Tanah, you're only Megoresha once you come from a basin in Eretz Yisrael. Somebody says, so kimati hasam ikrasha. It's only a tonight. Once she got there, some rush doesn't have to say funny nachtam. El Amar Ravuna Bar Manoch Mishmei Ravacha Barei Ravika Amar La Kimate Hasam Itnache Ara. When you get to Eretz Yisrael, to the court in Eretz Yisrael, place it on the ground, v'shakle, and take it, pick it up, and therefore it'll be in a sina, and therefore it's like I'm giving a get in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore I have to say funny nachtam because we're concerned either because Einim Tzulim L'Kaimon like the Masechta, or because of it's not written l'shma. Ihachi, the Gemara says if that's the case, Havli Tligite Mechab Karka. Rava says later on in the Masechta, if V'nasan Miyada, he has to place it into her hand. If he places it on the floor and says pick it up, that's not giving the get to her. Ela Damar La must be the case. Damar La heavy shliach la'alacha. He says to the woman, you be a shliach to bring the get to Eretz Yisrael. Adamatis hasam until you get to Eretz Yisrael. V'chimatis hasam heavy shliach l'kabbalah. Then you'll in turn transfer to be a shliach l'kabbalah. You'll do both. And you'll accept your get. The Gemara says, right? If she transfers over from being a shliach halacha to the shliach kabbalah, then there's no shliach halacha to give her the get anymore. She's the same person. She can only be one thing at one time. The Amar La, so he says, the heavy shliach halacha, adamatis hasam. Chimatis hasam shavi shliach kabbalah. It says, you be the shliach halacha. When you get there, appoint someone else. You to Shliach Kabbalah, and he'll be accept the get from you on your behalf. That makes sense if you hold. So machlokes later on in the Masechta, whether a woman can make a shliach. When the man makes a shliach la'alacha, could the woman also make a shliach Kabbalah? Isha ose shliach Kabbalah gita miyad shliach ba'ila. Elaman damar Isha, Isha ose shliach Kabbalah gita miyad shliach ba'ila. There's an opinion that says she can't do that. Michael and Meimar. How are you going to interpret this Mishnah? So the Gemara says, time of my. What's the reason? The opinion that says you can't do it. Mishum de'ika bizayin debal. Right? It's disgraceful to the husband. He makes a shliach and to give it to his wife. He's doing a favor to his wife because he controls everything over here. He has the right to divorce her Baal Karcha, and she has to accept it from him. He can do it Baal Karcha. Now she's making a shliach l'kabbalah. She doesn't want to do it herself. The husband's going to regret giving the get. It's not going to be a good get. Over here, the husband obviously he sent her, so he's not makbid. He knows that's what's going to be. That's his instructions. If you said it's the reason she can't make a shliach kabbalah when the husband makes a shliach halacha is because of bizayin, disgrace to the husband. Fine, we've answered that. There's a different reason of the opinion that says you can't make a shliach kabbalah if your husband makes a shliach halacha, and that's because it's similar to chatzera abal le'achar mikan. We learned. Right, the husband can't put the get in someone else's chutzner. He can put it in his own chutzner and then give the chutzner to his wife because that's his chutzner is an extension of his hand. He's giving that to his wife. But to put it in another person's chutzner and then the other person gives his chutzner to his wife, so it's not coming from the husband's hand, it's coming from his friend's hand to her wife. So it's similar over here as shliach kabbalah. When she makes shliach kabbalah, right, to accept from the shliach halacha, the shliach halacha is similar to the chutzner of the friend, right? It's his shliach of the husband, it's not him. So it's like his friend's chutzner. And then he's giving over to the woman, not directly to the woman. So it's similar to la'achar mikan, which is a puzzle. And therefore, as a gzera, we shouldn't have something like that. So the Gemara says, Ma'ikal meimar. Da'amar la hevi shliach halacha d'masas hasam. He tells her, you'll be a shliach to take it until you get there. When you get there, shavi shliach halacha. You appoint another shliach halacha, and you'll then transfer over to the woman herself, and you're makabel to get from the second shliach halacha. Another answer. Again, he says usually the shliach halacha until it gets there to Israel. And then in front of Beis Din, you have to say and the Beis Din themselves make a shliach, another shliach halacha, and they'll give it to you, and you'll be makabel it from the Beis Din. These two answers seem to be very similar. I'll explain the difference between them in Iyad ben Sion, and try to answer a question that came up from Iyad ben Sion yesterday, which I think is answered in the answer of the Gemara. We have concluded the second parak of Maseches Gittin, and let's go on to the third parak. Kol get shenichtav shelo l'shum isha pasal. If it's not written for that specific woman, basically the halacha of the Shema, it's pasal. Ketzad. What are some examples? He was passing in the marketplace. V'shama kol sofrim. He heard scribes. They were calling out makran ish ploni megarish his plonis. we'll see in the Gemara, they weren't actually writing an actual get. They were teaching people, other scribes, how to write a get. And they say this Ploni, Ruvain is divorcing Dvora or something like that. Magarish, Ploni is Makom, Ploni from this place. Amar Zeshmi, he realizes that's my name. It's my wife's name. It's the same place. Pasal Lagarish Bo, he can't use that. Yeser Mikan, even more than that. Because of Lagarish, he actually writes a get for his own wife. And he decides, I like my wife, I'm not going to get divorced. Matzo Ben Ira, and then someone in his city finds it. I have the same name as him. And my wife has the same name as her. And it's written in our city. Nonetheless, Pasal Lagarish Bo, because it wasn't written for that man's wife. Yeser Mikan, on top of Chavdalim and Beis, Yeser Mikan. Hayulo Shtei Nashim, he had two wives, Shmosei and Shavos. They had the same name. He was married to two Dvoros. If he wrote it explicitly for the older one, expressly, that's what he had in mind for the older one, he can't give it to the younger one. Yes, there Mikan Amar, a fourth case, Amar Lavlar Kosova Ezo She'ertze. He has again two wives with the same name. He says to the scribe, write a get for Dvora, and I'll decide afterwards which one I want to give it to. A garish bo, apostle, a garish bo. You can't megarish it. And the reason of this last halacha is partially because of Lishma, but also because of Breira. We don't hold of Breira, Raisa. Retroactively, you can't affirm that it was for this one that he wrote it for. The Gemara says, because of the garish is Yishtal v'nimla. The second case in the Mishnah, he wants to divorce his wife, and then he reconsiders. Bela Reisha v'mai. Seemingly a repetition of the first case, right, where someone else, a scribe, is writing a get for a person in the city, and then he doesn't use it, and another man takes it. What's the chiddush? The first case is talking about where it wasn't even written for a purpose of a get; it was just written to practice writing gittin. It's actually precisely read from a Mishnah. The Sofrin Makrin. The scribes call out. The scribes are not actually reading a real get; they're just teaching people how to write the get. Shemamina. Ma yeser mikain. What's all these, even more so, that we said 3 times in the Mishnah? Tana de Rishmal, lo zeh shenichtav shaloshim gerishin. Right, the first case where it wasn't even written for a gerishin, it was written just to practice. Ela av zeh shenichtav shaloshim gerishin. It was written, a man wrote it for a gerishin, but then he reconsidered. Puzzle. V'lo zeh shenichtav shaloshim gerishin didei. Ela av zeh shenichtav shaloshim gerishin didei. The third case, he writes it for his own wife. Right, but he wants to give it to his second wife. Possible. Even if it's written for this divorce, right? He's just gonna puzzle. It's puzzle because of Breira, right? It says, I'll decide later on which one I want to give it to. My timer. What's the reason for all these things? It cuts of v'nasan sefer krisos biyad. If it just said he has to give a sefer, parchment of Krisos, divorcing his wife in her hand. Hava mina lemute heyach kam. I would say that basically tell you to exclude the first case, only the first case. Lo avi l'shum krisos. He wasn't making it. He was doing it to practice writing gittin. It wasn't made for the purpose of divorcing his wife. The lo avi l'shum krisos. Aval kasav l'garish ishto. He wrote it to actually divorce his wife. V'nimlach, he reconsidered. The Avilashum Krisa was made for divorcing a wife. Ema kasher. If someone else takes it, it will be kasher. Kazrachman of a kasav. It says that the man has to write it, right? And in this case, the other person found it. He didn't write the get. He found it. Someone else wrote it. He Kazrachman of a kasav. So the kasav have a mina lemute hai the lo iu kasav. He didn't write it. Someone else wrote it, and he found it. He has 2 different wives with the same name. The iu kasav. He's writing it. Right, Ema Kasha, Kasha law. It has to be law lishma for that specific woman. He wrote it for a different woman. The Sefer Lamli. What's the kiddush of the fourth case? Hakamash Malan. They ain't Breira, right? Breira. We don't say retroactively. We can figure out which one he wrote it for. So I'm going to write it for whichever one I want, and then 10 minutes later or a day later, he says I want to give it to this one. We don't say Breira. We'll talk more about Breira going forward. Kasav Garish is Agdolo. The Garish Bo Taktana. The third case in the Mishnah, he wants to divorce the older one. He can't use it for the younger one. But he can't use it for the younger one. But if he decides, you know what, I'll actually use it for the one I wrote it for, you could. It's machlokas Masechet Bava Basra, right? If 2 people, 2 creditors, their name is Yosef ben Shimon, and someone owes them money, right? And they have they have a document which said that they're owed money by a certain person. Mosin shtarchov al acheret. Right? They can use their document to take out money from somebody. Right? It's the same person. Right? Two Yosef and Shimon are owed money by another person. His name was Reuven. It's the same Reuven. Right? So we don't know. One of them maybe has a false document. Nonetheless, we trust him. That's okay. How do you know you trust it? From our Mishnah. You can see from our Mishnah, right, that even though there's two women, he's the one husband, he has two women with the same name as Dvorah, and he wrote it for one, he can actually use it for the right one. We rely on that. Abaye says, if it's true, the second case in the Mishnah, right, where he writes it for his wife, and then he decides not to divorce his wife. Someone else finds the get, a different person. Pasal Garish Bo. He can't use it. Sheni Udlo Matzah Megarish. Person who finds it can't use it. Harish Matzah Megarish. But you conclude, obviously, from our Mishnah, the first person, even though he reconsidered, if he reconsidered it again, wants to divorce her, he could use it. Matzah Megarish. But Hamrinon. But in Babash we say V'lo Achar Yachal Hotel Ein Shtar Chov. Right? Where there's two creditors with the same name, we allow it's a machlokas, we allow them to collect. But everyone agrees that if two debtors had the same name, Yosef ben Shimon, and there was one person with documents, right, he can't go ahead and collect because maybe he only owes money to the other Yosef ben Shimon. So, but from our Mishnah, right, the second case of the Mishnah was similar to that case, right? Two different people and two different debtors. The people that owed the money were two Yosef ben Shimon. Just like two people over here in the city, they had the same name of the wife, and theirs had the same name. We know that doesn't work. So what are you going to say? From our Mishnah, it does work, but it's clear by Dinim Mamonis it doesn't work. Why is Gittin different than Dinim Mamonis? The only reason it's different here by Gittin is because we hold like Rabbi Lazar, that the important Edom are not the ones that sign the get, are the ones that witnessed the giving over the get. So that's why over here, right, when he writes the get and he reconsiders and then he wants to divorce her again, he could do that because it's not invalidated, because the important Edom are the witnesses that see the Masira, the giving over the get. So therefore, just like in the second case, we have to say that Gittin are different than Dinim Mamonis. Also in the third case, Gittin are different than Dinim Mamonis because you pass on the Kabbalah. Dinim Mamonis, obviously the main signature, the main edus is the actual chasimos, the signatures in the document. With that, we'll conclude today's share. Stay tuned for Enoch Ben Sion when I talk about the maskana of on Chav Dalam and Aleph right before the third parak, where the Gemara discusses a woman, how she can both be a shliach halacha and be a shliach Kabbalah. What is the case in the Mishnah on Chav Gimel, where we're talking about she is molich her get from Medina Hayam to Eretz Yisrael, and somehow she has to say Fani Nachtam. What exactly? How does that work? Why? Like the Gemara originally asked, she's already a Miguresh, she's a Chutz La'aretz. If he gave it to her, what exactly is the case? Try to deal with the difficulty from yesterday. Enoch Ben Sion coming up next.